G'day YouTube, Warbles on a lot here, with the second
the kidnapping of the two Italian tourists is the first time
regarding
targeted foreigners.
Maoists in India.
Are on edge. They've gone as far as to ban all foreign tourists from entering any tribal areas in the entire state.
Seems to be an interesting little story. I thought you might like to see the end of it.
Kidnappings, but it's also to appease the Maoists, who, among other things, are angry with the nature of tourism in the region. They're mostly against tours that resemble human safaris.
You've missed 15 minutes.
Busloads of foreigners emptied into tribal villages, promised a chance
you get the
to take
second quarter hour and the last quarter hour.
primitives.
Should give you a nice little flavour of the story. And I thought you'd like a different viewpoint.
The kidnapping of the Italian tourists is clearly an extreme step, but seems born from a genuine frustration.
So the high efficiency
for many tribals
fluorescent light bulbs
industry. It raises
are
the
sucking
question,
240 volts
tourism is appropriate for tribes who in many cases
from the inverter in the pyramid,
struggling to maintain a sense of cultural
which is
identity,
drawing power at 12 volts
also
from
just
the
to feed
batteries,
themselves.
which have been fed all day by the solar panels. So as civilization burns, I watch the fire and get ear-fed with the story by Radio National.
In the rural town of Bhavanipatna in Orissa, my mind turns to the Dongriakon tribal people and those who are fighting with them to protect their lands from mining.
My name is Giridhari.
Can't set the lawn on fire, can we?
Giridhari Patra works for the Niyamgiri Protection Committee, a group representing the over 300 villages.
This is bushfire
20,000 people
fuel
who will be affected
hazard
by the
reduction
bauxite
burning,
mining proposed by UK
done on a safe scale inside the spark arrestor.
Giridhari agreed to take me up into Niyamgiri, and together we head out on another bone-shaking ride, this time 5 hours through the lush rolling hills and into the town of
5.8% malt liquor, yay team.
It's here that Vedanta already runs a massive bauxite refinery. Set against the rather majestic Niyamgiri Hill, the Lanjigo refinery stands out like some sort of an alien spaceship, a massive tangle of metal and chimneys dropped into the otherwise green countryside. As we drive closer, I see
Where did the resources come from?
Its own runway to allow
From the
private jets
consumer
in and out.
durables and semi-durables that prop up your
But
lifestyle.
the bauxite deposits alone here are worth an estimated $4 trillion. With this refinery
Bauxite
already in place,
plus
Giridhari
electricity
Patra
equals
says he has
aluminium.
no
I use a
illusions
fair bit
about
of
the proposed
aluminium in my
expansion
life.
that would see the hill turned into an open cast mine.
The refinery has provided no benefits but every form of suffering. The water is poisoned, people have skin diseases and mouth ulcers. At least 25 people have died from infections. The farming land is destroyed, toxic waste has killed our animals. There aren't even any jobs for tribals.
Same story
Our
worldwide,
lives
isn't
have
it?
been hell since Vedanta arrived. We just want them to leave.
Deficit financed industrial economics
Despite their
has
isolation
screwed the
and roots
goose.
of poverty, the Dongriakon have taken their battle against Vedanta
Worldwide.
all the way to the Supreme Court. It's been described as a battle
My
of
generation,
David and Goliath proportions.
my siblings'
The likens
generation,
to the
my
sci-fi
parents
film
and
Avatar,
grandparents'
an
generation,
8,000-strong tribe battling
We've done
a $12
85%
billion
of the
mining
damage,
company.
which has happened in the last 1,000 years, and we've done it in the last
Their
100.
case made headline news.
Minister Jairam Ramesh has announced his verdict. The forest clearance to the bauxite mining project in the Niyamgiri Hills has been rejected because of grave environmental damage. The mining would lead to 1 lakh...
It was an historic victory for the Dongriakon tribe. Beyond the environmental concerns, the inquiry found Vedanta had also shown, quote, shocking and blatant disregard for the rights of tribal groups and total contempt for the law. But the Dongriakon's victory was short-lived. The Vedanta Mining Company is appealing the decision, and again, the tribe's future is shadowed by uncertainty. While it's already been a long struggle, Giridhari Patra remains undeterred.
They have beaten us, put us in prison, accused us of being Maoists and terrorists. They've tried everything. But as long as there's breath in our bodies, we will fight this company. Vedanta must leave Orissa.
उड़ीसा में ये वेदांत कंपनी को रहने नहीं देंगे.
I contacted Vedanta, but they declined to be interviewed for this story. But earlier in Delhi, I did get a chance to hear from a person who speaks for mining corporations nationwide.
My name is Arnab Kumar Hajra. I am the director at Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry. Steel and mines are under my domain, apart from other things. I think that you need to find a balance. As things stand today, because of the Maoist violence, and also because of the recent ascent on environment and protecting our forests and tribals and their livelihoods, the industry is making very little headway in terms of setting up mines or industries in and around them. So obviously the industry is aggrieved.
And Arnab Hajra refutes the claims the mining industry is responsible for land grab in tribal areas.
It's not a land grab. It's just about ensuring that the right prices are paid. Yes, what they did things in the past, there are documented evidence that they perhaps didn't do it the right way. They should have taken much more proactive steps. But I do not think, personally, you could do what you did 40 years back. Or even
The God
20
theory
years back.
that I subscribe to teaches that the
Everybody
only true
understands that the days are over where you could
sin
do business
or Satan
by excluding
is
others.
selfishness.
Now, if you want to do business, you have to
Can
do
you
it
hear
in
the
a
weasel
fair
words
way.
coming
Arnab
out of the
Hajra
mouth
seems
of this
genuinely
mining
convinced that
company
the bad old days of
spokesperson?
tribals being pushed from their lands are over. And whether that's true or not remains an open question. But one thing that's certain is that today, doing business in the tribal areas sometimes leads to some unlikely bedfellows.
The Naxals, they expect huge amounts of money from local businessmen, local people to industrialists. And slowly the legitimate mineral economy is getting sucked into that. These will always be supplied by the companies, and she will never be able to prove them. But yes, there is a significant amount of parallel economy.
The term parallel economy here hints at one of the further twists of this story. It's something that Mr. Hajra is surprisingly candid about. He's referring to the fact that many mining companies are widely believed to be paying off the Maoists who are successfully extorting money from them. It's a reminder of how tangled the web of players is, with Maoists, who are considered a terrorist group, now in part being funded by the very mining companies they're supposedly fighting against. Back on the ground in Nanjagod, there's a final reminder of the complexities of this story. We're in a village next to the refinery, where I'm introduced to people with severe skin diseases and other health problems, a product, they say, of the poisonous effluent from the bauxite plant. But before we get a chance to climb Niamgiri to meet the tribals there, the local police call me into their echoey offices and tell me to leave or face arrest. The police say that Niamgiri Hill is full of Maoists and they want to protect me from being kidnapped. And, to be fair, there is currently a ban on foreign tourists in the area, but there's no ban on journalists. Nonetheless, we're forced to turn back. Later, on the journey home, Giribati tells me that Maoism or the kidnapped Italian tourists have nothing to do with it. The local police are simply in the pay of the mining company, Vedanta. They'll always hassle journalists, he tells me, and they'll find any excuse they can to get rid of them. So, the same mining companies who are allegedly paying off the Maoists are also paying off the police.
Play both ends off against the middle and you're probably going to win. In the short term.
Giribati shows me a few films of the Dongdea Kond. It's footage taken on the hill we're unable to reach ourselves. It shows a group of women singing and dancing in a circle. I learn the song is in fact a prayer to their golden home, Niamgiri. A prayer to protect them and keep them safe from harm. I leave with a sense of the profound complexity and depth of challenges facing Adivasis in central India. Much remains to be seen, whether the Maoists crumble into a criminal game or grow into a legitimate voice for India's tribals. To what degree the mines and other big industries bring benefits or more suffering. Whether the state can overcome its endemic corruption, and whether food and education will reach the country's poorest. The more I've travelled, the more I've come to see these stories as part of the larger story. Not just about how India's tribals live, but about how we all live, and what we all want for our societies. Arundhati Roy neatly pinpoints this idea, and it's one I'll carry with me as I leave.
Label out.
Along, of course,
Cooper's Red, sparkling ale. It's a malt liquor video.
If you want to think of Adivasi society, people like to think of them as relics of the past, but perhaps they are the key to the future, because they're the only people who practice, not all of them, but some of them, to a great extent, the idea of a sustainable way of living, and if you're going to destroy them, you're going to destroy that possibility completely. So that's why I believe that this fight that's happening in India is not just about what's happening in India, but it's a fight for a redefinition of the idea of progress, of the idea of civilization, the idea of fulfillment, the idea of happiness. These are the things that are being fought for, which is why it's a very profound fight.
Peace comes when you stop fighting, honey bun.
Today's program, Travels in the Red Corridor, was produced by Janek Rogers. The supervising producers were Michelle Rayner and Lorena Allen. Technical production.
Only people with a powerless God theory
Special thanks to Amitabh
feel the
Ghosh,
need to
all
fight
those
to
at Colour
defend
India,
their
to
existence.
Dr. Hanif and
If you got a
Suri
God
Sahani,
theory
the
worth a
relief
pinch of shit to the
organisations
compost heap,
and to Giridhari
you don't
Putra,
need to pick up a
New
rock
Guinea
to
Protection
crush
Committee.
anybody's skull.
Please visit our
Because
website.
as the
There's
forces
some
of evil
slideshows
set
and
out
image gallery.
towards your doorstep,
abc.net.au
they trip over and break their
Radio
fucking
National
leg
and
before
find
you
Awaye
even see them.
in the program menu on the right hand side of the page. For now, that's our program. Join me again next Saturday evening.
If
after
you've
the
got a
6 o'clock
powerful
news
God
for
theory.
more Indigenous culture here on RN.
Have you had an Australian music
RN, that's short for Radio National, that's their latest fashion.
RN wants you to tell us all about it for Australian Music Month. Whether it's music that reminds you of your first kiss, or a song that conjures a season, party, birth, wedding, funeral, or any good or bad experience.
It's not going to do you any harm.
Just head to the RN front page and look for Oz Music Month for details.
To listen to a little bit more of the radio.
Hi, it's Kate Evans here from Books Plus. Join me tonight from After the News for 50 Shades of Preferential Voting, or at least that's what Shane Maloney called it when his character Larry Whalen,
50 Shades of
13P,
Preferential
was
Voting.
having sex on the desk of the chambers. A very funny take on bad behaviour in politics. And Maloney is joined by Stuart Littlemore on bad behaviour in the legal system, and Åsa Larsson on bad behaviour in Sweden.
See why I have no TV?
Here on RN.
I get ear-fed with intellectual bliss.
This is ABC News with Wendy Glamachak.
Ah, well.
Indonesian authorities have staged a covert nighttime operation to move the country's most notorious terrorist to a high-security prison.
Terrorist, 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 terrorist.
Indonesia correspondent George Roberts reports.
Abu Bakar Bashir is
Warbles on a lot to YouTube. Ciao.